Hello, hello. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest right from the get-go. It's a little intimidating to follow Tunde. But I'm going to do my best. I have a Southern accent, and my voice is a little quiet. But I hope my heart's desire today is just to share something from my life experience that helps somebody. And if that can happen, then I'll be a happy woman. First, I just want to say thank you to LeaderCast for giving me this opportunity. It's such an honor to come and share thoughts and share a story. And that's really what I'm here to do today. So thank you for the invitation to amplify. So the theme of the whole LeaderCast presentation today is really about amplification. And when I started thinking more about what does it mean to amplify, it is to, I think, choose the thing that you would wish to become more marked or more intense in your life. And not only in your own life, but as you are marking and intensifying something in your own life, it's to realize that whatever that decision is that you've made, you're impacting everything around your circle. And that's really what the time today is going to be spent talking about. What do you want to personally amplify as your mark on the world? It's a question that if we don't pause and reflect and have some thought or intention around it, our days will go by so quickly and so much time will pass and we'll stop and think, wow, I've been really busy doing something, but is it the something that I would really choose for myself if I were to really get quiet and ask myself that honest question? What is the story that you want the book of your life to tell? That line came to me because I found a Bible that my mother had been given when she married my father. And they were married for almost 60 years. And someone had written a message to her inside the cover that said, we hope that the story that you write with the days of your life will be one that you'll reflect on and be proud of, something like that. And I just thought the idea of every day of our lives are part of a story that we're writing, and it's our book, and we can only write it for ourselves. And when one page is written, that one page is done. You cannot go back and you cannot rewrite it. And so every moment of every day is our opportunity to ask ourselves, what is the impact I want to have? What do I want to amplify? What is the seed that's been planted in your heart? What is the seed that's been planted in our heart? And I believe with all that I am that it is so vastly different for each one of us because there is something that's here inside of me and inside of you and inside of you and you and you and you that only you can bring to the world. And it's a combination of your DNA, how you were wonderfully made, how your brain is wired. And I talk about the brain because that's my work. I've seen brain scans over 4,000 kids and young adults. And so I'm keenly interested in what happens inside the mind of people who are struggling mightily versus people who seem to be more at choice with their day-to-day life. So that one topic interests me very, very much. And then the last is our experiences. So our DNA, how is our brain wired? And then what has our life experience been? And those three things together come together and they lead you to that place that only you specifically are designed to fill a need, I think, in this world. The idea of foundational truths. So here's what this means for me. When I use the term foundational truths in my work, I work with some very complex individuals, people with traumatic brain injury, with stroke rehabilitation, with autism spectrum diagnosis, with significant emotional, behavioral, relational diagnosis. The kind of diagnosis that will stop a young person and their family in their tracks. Because the life that you thought you would be living is not the life that you end up living, because life becomes much more complicated than you could ever imagine. And so the term foundational truths came to me as I was sitting with one family after another, and just understanding what their truths were. What does it look like when you wake up in the morning? What is the first thing that the person that you love and this child does when they wake up? Tell me about the struggle. Tell me about that reality. And then we looked at all the other components neurologically and physiologically, which I'll talk about in a little while. But for today, the foundational truth in regard to the seed in the heart for me was about, I had this memory that came to me. And it was the thought when I was younger that it would be so cool if I could be a country music singer. I thought that would be so amazing. And I pictured myself doing that. But here's a foundational truth. I cannot sing. So that was not my calling. That was not my seed in my heart. No matter how cool I thought that would be, that was not meant for me. And then I thought about other people. I was recently in a meeting with a 4-star general. And I just sit and I listened to him and I observed him. The way he carried himself, the way he spoke with such confidence and grace, the way he was so steadfast and just exuded strength. I felt, my goodness, I could trust you. There's a reason he's a 4-star general. There's a reason people follow him into battle, because his DNA, the way that his brain has been wired, and his life experiences, his raw material, have built him to be a 4-star general. I will not be a 4-star general, but he will be a magnificent one. And then I think about Harry Styles. I don't know if you ever watch Harry Styles sing, but Harry Styles is everywhere. He's on the front of every magazine. He's got thousands of people following him all over the globe. I'm a little too old to be following Harry Styles. But I'll be honest with you, I'm doing it because there is something about Harry Styles that the world has stopped and taken notice of. It's true. And when I watch other people's little clips on Instagram of Harry Styles where they get close up when he's in concert, I'm like, dang, there's something about him that just captures people. You know, he's got it, whatever it is. And so there's something about him and what he was designed to do that without really promoting himself, if you watch him, he's just kind of this young man in his 20s who rolls out, and he might have on a boa, or he might have on sequin pants, or he might have on a hat or carry a purse. Like, he's got a lot of different things going on. But people love him. Which brings me to this. Your power for impact lies where your strengths and your passions and the world's greatest pain intersect. And if you just think about that, because nobody has to look very far to see the pain in the world, you do not have to look far to see hurting, lack, poverty, disease, loneliness, mental health issues, suicide rates are high, there's violence on the streets. You look, it's not difficult to find that. But I thought about Harry Styles again when I wrote this slide, and here's what I thought. Because I remembered seeing him I didn't see him live, but I saw someone take a clip of him performing in England. And there's this whole thing about the English are very angry that he has more shows in the US than he does in Europe. And so there was this young girl sitting in the audience, and I guess she held up a sign that said, I traveled so far, I flew such and such many hours to get here to see you. And Harry Styles sees the sign, and he goes, Micah, ask her where she came from. Somebody goes over, and she goes, North Carolina. And everyone in the stadium booed her. And Harry Styles stops in his tracks, and he looks around in the audience, and he said, no, we're not going to be unkind here. She's a great young woman. She traveled a long way. Now let's get on with the show and have a good time. And I thought Harry Styles intersected the world's pain, coming out of a pandemic. Everyone's isolated. No one's coming together singing and dancing. And there's a lot of unkindness. And he steps up, and here's this young man who has whatever it is that can get up on stage and fill up Madison Square Gardens for 15 shows in a row with over 20,000 people. So what is that? I would say it's where his raw talent intersected at a time in our lives where we need joy, we need laughter, we need celebration. But here's the other thing he does. He sings a song called Matilda. And Matilda is a song about someone who grew up with no love, no support, no family showing up for a birthday party. And these people flock into the stadiums and they hold up a sign and says, "No one loved me either." And then he sees the signs all over the stadium. So the pain point of the world, y'all, the pain point of the world, which is who cares about me? Am I worth loving? How do I fit into this picture? They're flocking into these stadiums and holding up cardboard signs that Harry Styles looks at and goes, "You okay?" Like if you watch little clips of him, he does that. "You okay? Anything I can do for you?" And it feels like he genuinely means it. So intersection, his raw talent, meeting a need in the world. The measure of your impact will be in great part a reflection of the health, integration of your heart, your mind, your body, all making up your soul that's going to move through this life full of potential and full of possibility. And the very first part is the center of your being. It's your heart. It's just like it all starts right there, and our hearts get so bombarded with so much that we can't even hear it anymore. It's too loud. It's too busy. There's too many messages. There's so much negativity coming through so many channels. And if you're not careful, and I say this with a lot of passion in my heart about it, if you're not careful, it just absolutely snuffs it out. And I promise the last thing I'm going to say about Harry Styles is this. I guess I'm a little obsessed at this point, but here's my point about this. I worry about Harry Styles. I've got one of my buddies from work with me today, and we were sitting in the front room in my little office, and I said, "I'm worried about Harry Styles." And she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "He's just got such a gift, but I'm so petrified the world's going to snuff him out. I'm so petrified he's going to get, I don't know." And I'll tell you what, if that happens, he's not going to fill up Madison Square Gardens anymore. No one's going to go because the it thing, it's going to be snuffed. And so how we care for the heart, it matters so much how we care for the heart. The next circle is the will, and the will just super quickly is just that part of the power that we all have. It's resonating from the inside out. It's an intention. It's a power. It's a driver. It's the thing that says whether I feel like it or not. Because a lot of times we won't feel like it. I'm going to do it. I've made my mind. I'm going to do it. The next circle is the mind. And I would tell you that the mind, it's your greatest asset. It's your greatest friend. It's your most beautiful thing other than your heart. Or it's your greatest enemy. It's your greatest barrier. It's the thing that'll take you to a dark place or it'll take you to a beautiful place. And that is a foundational truth. That circle will take you to the darkest of the dark, or it'll take you to a place that is more beautiful than you can imagine. And I'll be honest with you again. If I had listened to some of the things that my mind were telling me about standing up here today, I would have said, I'm not worthy of standing up here today. Maybe I don't have anything important to say. Maybe they made a mistake by inviting me. I mean, you fill in the blank. And if I had listened to that for too many moments, I would have thought up 1,000 excuses to not make it today. The darkest or the best friend. The body is just carrying out whatever it is that's going on in the other levels. You hear me talk, you'll watch my actions, and the memory that comes to mind on this, so it's my words, it's my actions, right? It's how we move through this life. And I think about the kids that we serve at Jacob's Ladder, which is the school I founded. And I think about the kids who have severe and significant emotional behavioral relational disorders. They are hurting other people. And so the world says, let's put some behavioral plans in place for these kids that are hurting other people. Let's give them some consequences for these behaviors. Let's give them some rewards when they do the right thing. Behavior plans. But the reason behavior plans never work is that a child, an adolescent, an adult is only acting out in this life what's here and what's here. So if I'm a child and I've been neglected, I've been abused, I've been hurt, I've been bullied, the only thing I know to give and share is what I have, what I've experienced. And I believe with all that I am that can shift and change. But it doesn't change because we write a behavior plan down. It changes because we realize that it's going to be an inside job. 100% of the time, no matter what you're talking about, it's going to be an inside out job. And the last ring, so I call this the circle of the soul, the circles of the soul. So if you hear me say that again, it's really about this. If I say the circles of the soul is what is made, all the layers make up who we are, our souls as we move through this life. And the degree of your impact in this life will be so profoundly dependent on the health of each of those layers. And we might want X, Y, or Z to happen. And I think we got a really great shot of whatever X, Y, or Z is, as long as we realize, go from the inside out. This flower growing through concrete. I don't know if you've ever walked around a city or anywhere and if your eyes are ever drawn to a flower that's growing out of concrete, it's always baffled me how that could happen. Now, on my phone, I've probably got 300 photographs of flowers coming up through roots and gravel and concrete. And so then I actually Googled this before I stood up here to see, well, what is actually happening? Does a flower actually push through concrete? Because I just couldn't believe that. And I found some really interesting things about that. They actually do push through concrete. A root system moves around because it's got this potential waiting to be expressed. And it waits until it finds a microscopic crack in the concrete. One teeny tiny opportunity. And then it takes it. And the will of the flower starts pushing through the concrete until it can express who it is. And I find that so amazing. And then I ask myself, what's my concrete? What's our concrete? What keeps us underneath, unable to come up and bloom? And I think the number one driver, the number one element of our personal concrete is fear. It's always fear. Fear that I don't belong. Fear that I'm not worthy. Fear that I'm going to make a fool out of myself. Fear. It's just fear. But if the concrete, right, if the flower finds one little opening of possibility, I think all we have to do is kind of sit with, and I think one of the most important questions we could ever ask ourselves is, what am I so afraid of? Oh my goodness. What am I so afraid of? And if you think it's thunderstorms or rattlesnakes or this or that, I would tell you that that's a symptom of something that you just maybe hadn't seen yet. And it just shows up somewhere. It might be rattlesnakes for you. It might be something else for somebody else. But it's really, there's a core there that we have to ask ourselves, what is that?